The last Amazon review I did was on budget-friendly suit options, specifically for linen. And I really enjoy doing the budget-friendly reviews because a lot of us don't have the money to spend on high-end menswear, but we want to still dress classically and still dress nice and represent ourselves appropriately. Recently, I moved to a different country that does not allow Amazon shipments, so I had to look for other options. One of them was Temu. There was a lot of conflicting reviews I read while I was deciding if I wanted to place that order or not. And I ended up just deciding to try it. And I am actually overall happy that I did. So I got 3 items, and today I want to review one, which is a pair of Belgian loafers. And I'll show you, these are the loafers. It comes from a company called Comfy Daily, and I'll put their listing up on the video here. And I plan on reviewing it based off of 7 criteria: design and appearance, materials, construction quality, comfort, color and finish, versatility, and value for money. So starting out, these took around 2 weeks to get to me after order. And they came in a very nondescript white box that simply says shoes. And the box did take a beating. You can see here, the box got pretty messed up, but ultimately I'm pleased with it because it protected the shoes. So that's what I needed it to do. They came out to $37 US, which for this type of shoe is a pretty good deal. And I'll show you the shoes right here. So these are the loafers. So they're penny loafers. And they're in like a faux suede material. For $37, normally these types of shoes go from 200 to 500 US dollars. And so I figured it was worth a try. And I am happy so far that I spent the money on these. I am going to do a durability test before the end of this video. And so we'll see if I'm ultimately happy with them. But on first appearance, I'm pleased. And so starting with the design and appearance, I like these. They have a really nice silhouette and a really nice profile. They don't look cheap from the shape of them. It has a decent tread on the bottom. You can't really expect too much with loafers. Loafers are notoriously slippery, so it is what is to be expected. And the overall appearance is great. I mean, the strap is, it looks pretty well constructed, and I don't see any loose threads or anything like that. And yeah, and so this is a size 45. Normally I wear anywhere between a 42 and a 44, but I wanted to order a little bit up because I saw in some of the reviews some people saying they were tight, and they were correct. So if you're going to order these, I would say go with a size or 2 higher than what you typically wear. I do believe that the company has black, gray, dark brown, and like a sand color, as well as these dark green ones. Ultimately, I got these as a statement piece. I wanted to have something that could stand out with a pretty plain suit or a pretty plain outfit in general. And I think that these do a great job of that. As far as materials, these are definitely not suede. And there is a noticeable difference in the material compared to that of the $500 variety. You can see from here slight discolorations, and you would not expect that of a higher end suede loafer. So these, like I said, these are $37, and you'll see an inconsistent pattern. And you can almost see the material underneath. I'm not sure if it's excess glue or what exactly that is. But from a distance, they don't look all that bad. And again, for the price, we're not buying high-end stuff here. So there is some give and take to be expected with these. All right, so let's start on the design and appearance. So this is going to be out of 25 total points. Overall, the silhouette of the shoe is really nice. It's exactly what you'd expect in a Belgian loafer. And at first glance on somebody's feet while they're walking, I would probably not be able to spot these being a $37 shoe, at least in the state they're in currently. Up close, I would I would certainly recognize some telltale signs. So the appearance is generally good, but it's brought down by some of these inconsistent parts. You can see some of the nap is relatively low. And these are like a faux suede, a nice emerald dark green. The bottom has a decent enough tread, but you can't really expect too much tread from loafers in general. Overall, for design and appearance, I would give these a 18 out of 25. And the main parts that I cannot make it any higher are these parts that are just inconsistent. It's kind of disappointing. And I do wonder if the darker colors, the black or the dark brown, would have less of that. And that kind of segues into the materials. Overall, it seems like it's decent. Again, this is a $37 shoe. I'm not expecting the materials to be incredibly high end. I do find that the insole, if I can get it out here, is relatively thin, and it does look kind of cheap to me. I do suspect that the insoles are probably going to be the weakest point of the construction here. And I say that because if I show you the threads here, they're pretty consistent and they're thick and they look like they're doubled up in the key places like the toe box. And so I suspect that the shoe itself is going to hold up pretty decently. The other thing that only time will tell is if the sole will actually separate from the shoe itself, which does happen with these cheaper shoes. For construction quality, I'm mainly taking off points for the insole itself because it is certainly the weak point of the shoe. Regarding the construction quality in particular, I would give it an 11 out of 15, mainly taking off points because of the insole. But also, I'm not so certain about the tongue itself. The material that's used on the inside, the brown material, it looks like the cheap fake leather, the cheap like plasticky leather that flakes very quickly, and only time will tell if that's the case. But hopefully that'll come up in our durability test before the end of this video. Comfort is surprisingly nice in these. I would give them a 13 out of 15 for comfort. I've only put them on and walked around the house so far because I wanted to be able to show you what it looked like fresh out of the box without scuffing them up or having any sort of damage to the shoe on my part. But overall, they're very comfortable, at least for the short term. Again, this is another thing that's going to really come out with the durability testing. I think after 20,000 steps, we'll get a good understanding of how truly comfortable these are. And I do suspect I'll end up upgrading the insoles if I want to keep these. I'm pretty conflicted when it comes to the color and finish of the shoe. I love the color. The green is a beautiful color. I think it's going to be a fantastic statement shoe, and it's really going to do well in my wardrobe. The consistency of the fabric itself of the shoe is what bothers me. I don't think it'll be seen from a distance. So from a distance, you can't really see too much inconsistency, but up close, it becomes rather apparent. And again, for $37, it's something I can get over if these hold up. If these hold up, this might be a shoe I would order a different color in. I do like the Belgian loafers, and like I said earlier, the silhouette of it would, from a distance, really end up looking like a more expensive shoe than it is. So ultimately, with the color and finish, I would have to give it a 7 out of 10. I love the color, and on the areas like the tab, where it's just perfect, it looks great. I just wish the whole shoe was like that. So I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Moving on to the versatility of it, this doesn't so much speak to the manufacturer himself, but rather to the shoe, is I would say out of 10, I would give it a 7. I think that you can get away with wearing something like this because of how dark it is, and it's relatively calm in appearance with a lot of casual outfits. I really do think you might be able to wear this with jeans, definitely with khakis, even many suits you'll be able to wear this, especially linen. It's going to look great with linen, a casual linen suit in the summer. But it is ultimately limited. It's not going to be something to be used for business or likely work, depending if you work in a formal environment or not. So I would give this a 7 out of 10 on versatility. When it comes to value for money, as long as this holds up the durability test, I would give it a solid 7 out of 10. I think that just judging from the short-term comfort of it, from the appearance past 4 or 5 feet away, and the general construction of it, I'm really pleased. And if these hold up for even 6 months of wear, I would definitely consider buying another pair. I really do like these Belgian loafers, and I think that this company did a pretty decent job. So I'll start my durability testing tonight, and I'm going to go for a total of 20,000 steps. I will likely do most of the steps tomorrow, but I will get some pictures of these on my feet, and I will update you as far as some different outfits that they can be worn with and what I chose to wear them with, as well as the ultimate results of the durability test, and if this might be a shoe that's worth buying. Okay, here we are. I was supposed to durability test these for 20,000 steps, but I ended up going over 2 days and over 40,000 steps with these. They were not easy terrain steps. They were up and down stairs. They were in some pretty decrepit roads with lots of rocks and dirt and mud, and they held up surprisingly well. I'll show you the areas of the wear. But firstly, you can see the fabric on the shoes themselves. I didn't clean these because I wanted to give you an honest depiction of how they held up. You can see that there is some creasing, but if you've worn loafers in the past, you'll know that this is pretty common. So I hesitate to attribute it just to the price or the quality of these shoes in particular. And they are a little bit dirty, but I believe they can be cleaned up pretty easily with a brush. And as far as the bottom, the tread held up pretty nicely. I didn't notice any slippage or anything like that. I felt that I was able to traverse whatever terrain I needed to. There was one point where it did start raining, and they were fine. I wore them in the rain. Most of the time, it was pretty ideal conditions. You can see, the front's a bit scuffed, and there is some wear in the center, and that's true for both of them. And then the outside section, you can see the inside is still pretty straight, the outside is worn down, and this right one is even more dramatic. And here you can see it here versus the inside. Mind you, I am probably 260 pounds at this point, and this was over 40,000 steps. I do have back problems, and my gait is relatively unstable. And so it's not surprising to me that this is wearing down in this way. I do have other loafers, and they wear down in a similar pattern on the outside heel. So I hesitate to attribute that to the price or the quality of this shoe in particular, because I have had that. Now, the speed that they wore down at might be slightly faster than the more expensive shoes. I recently flew to Ukraine and got some handmade leather loafers, and they are still wearing down in this exact pattern, which again speaks to my gait. I'm not so certain that these would be worth repairing. Depending on where you live, it might be worth taking it to somebody and seeing if they can put a new heel on. I might do that just out of curiosity to see how much it's going to cost and if it's worth it. I don't think they're at this point yet, but I think that probably in the next 2 months they will be. I put a lot of wear on these over these couple days or these 2 days. 40,000 steps is a lot. Most people will not be taking 40,000 steps in a pair of shoes over 2 days. These are generally statement shoes. So I would expect that most people who are going to be wearing them are going to be wearing them with a specific outfit to a function of some kind, maybe to dinner, something along those lines. And that's going to be, 500 to 1,000 steps. And most people are not going to be as heavy as me. And most people are not going to have gait problems because of disabilities like I have. So I am relatively impressed with how these have held up. I'm very impressed with the quality of how the general shoe held up. It's more so the sole itself that I question, the heel in particular. The insole themselves have held up great. There's no flaking. I was a little bit worried that the quality of the lining itself would flake. It hasn't yet. That doesn't mean it won't in the future. But again, 40,000 steps, most people will not be taking that. Even 3,000 steps in a normal day, this will go through many rotations because you shouldn't be wearing the same shoe day in, day out. It'll go through many rotations before it hits 40,000 steps. So we're looking at maybe 6 months to a year of wear that I put on these, if not more, within those 2 days, especially if you're planning on wearing these just as a statement piece. The insoles themselves turned out to not be too terrible. They could be better and they could be upgraded. And depending on what the conclusion I make with this heel is, I might do so. Additionally, I'll put up some pictures. The back of my heels did get kind of chewed up. The shoe itself fit really well. I put a lot of steps into them. And the heel itself hasn't worn down. It hasn't been, the shape hasn't changed at all. Neither has the toe box itself. It stayed consistent, and that's pretty impressive in my opinion. And with a lack of wear on the inside, these have potential to stay in my wardrobe for quite some time, especially once I get this heel figured out. And in reality, this heel could be a good project for me. I'm looking to eventually learn some shoemaking or shoe repair techniques. So this might be a good donor pair to start that process and to maybe put on a more high quality heel, or maybe a more high quality bottom completely, a whole high quality sole. And maybe I wouldn't have this problem to such an extent or so quickly. And you can see it's still dirty. I did not want to clean these up because I wanted to give you the honest view. And I'll hold them both side by side. So you can see it's similar wear patterns, just reversed. And both of them have maintained their shape and composition. And I do think that this will be easily cleaned up. Like I said, I walked through some mud and some dirt, some other pretty less than ideal terrain. Overall, I'm impressed for $37, especially as a infrequent wear. I don't know that I would recommend wearing these every day, but for what they are, I'm very impressed. I'm impressed with Temu. This was my first purchase from Temu, like I said earlier, and I'm going to be doing some more review videos on some different Temu products. I will put the link to these in the comments. I'm not getting paid by them. I'm not really advertising for them. It's more so for your benefit because I quite enjoy these. The one thing I did notice is that there is a difference in the tab here. You can see it's a bit rigid, and then on the outside, it's straight. And it's the same thing on this pair, on this shoe. But other than that, and that might be intentional, that might just be the way that their machines are set up or their process in general. Would I recommend these? Yes, if you do not have enough money to spend on a $500 pair of loafers. I do not. And if you're in a similar position to me, or you want to try out something that is like faux suede, and you're not so certain if it's going to go with your style, if you're going to like it in the long term, $37 for something like this is a pretty good purchase. So if you like this review, I have one other one on a more budget-friendly linen suit from Amazon. And I'm going to be doing some more on some Temu products, so please check that out. Thank you.